Roman Reigns must not trust Sami Zayn, the best and worst of WWE SmackDown. The new women's title is a game changer. Is this the end of Randy Orton's career? Positive news on Rhea Ripley's WWE return. SmackDown and Raw are set for major changes. Major update on if WWE ID prospects can still work for AEW. CM Punk targets Jacob Fatu and Solo Sikoa. Let's dive right in. The best and worst of WWE SmackDown. Tonight's episode of SmackDown was historic for multiple reasons. Among them was the official reunion of the original Bloodline, as Roman Reigns, the Usos, and Sami Zayn finally joined forces. However, it wasn't a perfect show. Let's take a look at what exactly happened on SmackDown. From potential heel turns and career-threatening injuries to brand new titles, here are the biggest positives and negatives from tonight's show. Number 1. Best. We are so back. SmackDown started and ended with Bloodline business. The opening segment saw Sami Zayn pour his heart out to Roman Reigns in a bid for him to rejoin the group. It wasn't all plain sailing, as the former honorary Uso walked away after the OTC refused to properly apologize to Jey Uso. Zayn was then revealed as the 5th member of Solo Sikoa's War Games team, only to turn on him again. That hell of a kick to the new tribal chief restored the feeling, as all 4 members of the original Bloodline raised their wands to the sky. It's a loose alliance so far, which makes sense from a story perspective. At least the willingness to team up against the new Bloodline is there. Roman Reigns has accepted that he needs the Usos, and Sami Zayn more than they need him. Number 2. Worst. 2 SmackDown teams sacrificed? If things don't change between Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa, SmackDown's tag team division could take a major hit. The storyline of DIY not being on the same page is an interesting one, only as long as the two eventually sort out their differences. Ciampa aggressively teased a heel turn, bemoaning Gargano for being friendly with the Motor City Machine Guns. The Blackheart completely squashed Pretty Deadly on his own. This might lead to a split if Johnny Wrestling doesn't change his ways. Meanwhile, the treatment of Pretty Deadly on SmackDown wasn't ideal. Such a storyline would only work if DIY ends up sticking together and turning fully heel. Also, the Street Profits getting a WWE Tag Team title shot without any build might not bode well for their future. Is an abrupt split coming? Number 3. Best. KO is deranged. Kevin Owens has been one of WWE's most interesting figures since turning heel, and on SmackDown, he has gotten even better. It came at the expense of Randy Orton, though, with the Viper leaving the arena in an ambulance. An in-ring brawl between the two ended with Owens hitting a piledriver. With Orton's history of back injuries, this was a particularly dangerous move. What happens next with KO after this forbidden move remains to be seen. A match against Cody Rhodes at Survivor Series seems likely. The American Nightmare accompanied Randy Orton to the hospital, while Kevin Owens was nowhere to be seen for the rest of SmackDown. Number 4. Best and worst. The women's US title is announced. A women's mid-card championship has been much needed in WWE for a long time. So when Nick Aldis finally announced the Women's United States Championship, the wrestling world rejoiced. However, there was one problem. Such a big moment should have taken place live in front of the fans instead of in a video package. The reaction would have been great, making the women's US title an even bigger deal than it is. Unfortunately, that's not what happened. This introduction could have easily set up the match Bayley and Candice LeRae had on SmackDown. Hopefully, this championship will be treated better in the months and years to come. The new women's title is a game changer. WWE SmackDown General Manager Nick Aldis made a huge announcement this week and unveiled the new Women's United States Championship. Wrestling journalist and Sportskeeda senior editor Bill Apter reacted to the news of the new title. During a backstage segment, SmackDown GM Nick Aldis announced that a new Women's United States Championship would be introduced. He asked the division to step up their game and take up the challenge of becoming the inaugural Women's US Champion. This week on Smack Talk, Bill Apter explained that he had always wanted a mid-card title for women. He pointed out that this would allow some women to shine and stand out from the rest of the division. The women are finally getting something that I have been lobbying for ages: their own United States Championship. Since I was a kid watching wrestling, it's always been the guys. It's been Bobo Brazil. It's been the original Sheik. The women never had the United States Championship unless it was the Indies. They did not announce if it was going to be a tournament or how it was going to be handled, Apter said. During the same conversation, the veteran journalist wondered how WWE would go about crowning the first ever Women's United States Champion. It will be interesting to see how the creative team plans to orchestrate this storyline and which women qualify to become the first ever WWE Women's United States Champion. Is this the end of Randy Orton's career? Randy Orton had to be carried out in an ambulance on WWE SmackDown after he was hit with a banned move. Now, a Hall of Famer has speculated whether this is him retiring and ending his career. On SmackDown, Orton was attacked by Kevin Owens and got hit by the piledriver, a move that has been banned in WWE for some time. It apparently hurt him, and he had to be carried to the back. NWA Hall of Famer Bill Apter spoke about the segment on this week's episode of Smack Talk, discussing how shocked he was with the way WWE had booked Randy Orton's injury and made the entire segment seem legitimate, even if it was part of the storyline. And Kevin Owens almost seemed like, I can't believe this is real. I can't believe I did it. It looked legit. It looked legit. With Kevin Owens' reaction with Cody coming out, Bill Apter added that he felt that Triple H was an old school guy and he had brought back something that used to happen back in the day with injuries, where they were sold like they were legit. He also felt that it almost felt like they were booking the end of Randy Orton's career. Triple H is an old school guy in a new school world. They did this so well when you looked and saw the worry on people's faces. Not just the fans, but Charles Robinson, the referee, and so many other ones there. There was no shtick. They didn't have Kevin Owens come out and attack him in the ambulance and all that. It was almost like, this guy is really hurt. Randy was out for such a long time, Joe, with his injuries. Is this the end of Randy Orton's career? Apter wondered. Apter went on to say that if he were the booker, he'd keep Orton out until WrestleMania, so that nobody sees him. Since the segment, there has been an unfortunate update on Randy Orton regarding a possible cervical injury. Positive news on Rhea Ripley's WWE return. The WWE Universe continues to patiently await Rhea Ripley's return. The Aussie superstar has suffered multiple freak injuries in her 11-plus-year career, and this latest incident will keep her on the shelf for some time. Sources are now revealing new details on Ripley's return plans, what happened in the ring that night, plus backstage chatter. The Eradicator brawled with Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez on the October 21st Raw, but suffered what was later announced as a fractured orbital bone. The October 29th NXT featured a parking lot segment where Ripley was attacked by the current Women's World Champion and her enforcer. WWE then blamed Ripley's fractured right orbital socket on the attack, writing her out of the storylines for an undisclosed amount of time, with no real further details. During the earlier brawl on Raw, Liv caught Rhea with a codebreaker. After a few more minutes of action in the ring, Ripley stunned Liv with a headbutt to the mat. Dominic Mysterio saved Liv from a riptide on the apron, but Ripley yanked him into the ring for a prism until Liv and Raquel made the save again. The initial belief was that Ripley suffered the orbital bone injury in delivering the aforementioned headbutt to Morgan. However, the 28-year-old indicated on X that she seemingly suffered the fracture in taking the codebreaker from Morgan that led to the finishing sequence. Ripley was praised for finishing the spots while hurt. As of November 1st, there was still no word on any sort of timeline for Ripley's return to action. The decision to write her out of the storylines with the NXT segment was reportedly made at the last minute, with one factor being the fact that Ripley lives in the Orlando area, and shooting the segment for NXT would prevent her from traveling, and it would tie into the storylines. The Nightmare is preparing for her return to the ring, but there is still no firm timeline for when she might be medically cleared. However, PW Insider reported on a situation that could see Ripley return ahead of what many expected. Sources noted that there's been recent talk within WWE on how Ripley's injury was not as severe as originally thought. WWE officials have had some sort of significant role planned for Ripley at WrestleMania 41 next year, so there's still hope that Mommy will be ready to go by then. The lead speculation is that Ripley could be back into the mix no later than the Royal Rumble and the kickoff to WrestleMania Vegas season. WWE is just over 5 months away from WrestleMania 41. The big event is scheduled for Saturday, April 19th, and Sunday, April 20th, at Allegiant Stadium near Las Vegas. Cody Rhodes headlined Night 2 of WrestleMania 39 and both nights of WrestleMania 40. Speaking on the Pat McAfee Show, the current undisputed WWE champion teased something big in the works for the Showcase of the Immortals, but he did not elaborate. WrestleMania 41. I am looking to do what I've done 3 times now and enter the main event, but I think it will be something that perhaps is bigger than anyone anticipated, Cody Rhodes said. Rhodes' last televised title defense came on the SmackDown season premiere on September 13th. Cody retained the undisputed WWE Championship over Solo Sikoa in a steel cage match, just 2 weeks after retaining over Kevin Owens at Bash in Berlin. SmackDown and Raw are set for major changes. WWE is just 2 months away from entering the Netflix era with its Raw brand. SmackDown is just under 2 months into its second USA Network era, and NXT is almost 6 weeks into its CW Network era. All 3 of WWE's brands are moving forward with significant momentum, but now sources have revealed even bigger happenings planned for the near future on the 3 weekly TV shows. World Wrestling Entertainment's Monday Night Show went to 3 hours in July 2012, but it was cut back to 2 hours in early October, and the plan seemingly is to return to 3 hours when Raw hits Netflix on January 6th. There have been various rumors of SmackDown's runtime potentially increasing to 3 hours also, but there has been no official announcement from the company. Sources now report that WWE officials have locked in plans for both Raw and SmackDown to air as 3-hour episodes each week, according to PW Insider. The changes are set to be implemented in January and will also have a major impact on NXT. The Raw on January 6th will serve as the Netflix premiere. SmackDown is rumored to begin its 3-hour journey during the first week of the year as well, perhaps on January 3rd, which means the blue brand could air a 3-hour format before the red brand was able to return to it. Officials are set to beef up WWE's main roster lineups, to have a fresh slate for the new year, and to help fill 3 hours. There's talk of making call-ups from NXT and other roster changes, which could begin before the end of this year. Amid rumors and speculation on WWE potentially mixing the brands altogether, there's also talk of making a significant number of call-ups. Major update on if WWE ID prospects can still work for AEW. WWE recently launched its ID program to help identify independent wrestlers who could have a future in the promotion. The introduction of the program has led to some questions about whether these stars would still be able to be hired by All Elite Wrestling. According to John Pollock and Brandon Thurston of Post Wrestling, there are currently no restrictions in place when it comes to talent in the program working for All Elite Wrestling. Thurston and Pollock also noted that they were unable to confirm if any medical expenses for the talent in the program are covered by the promotion. There are no restrictions when it comes to talent under WWE ID deals doing jobs on shows or taking bookings. When asked about AEW extra work, we were informed that WWE would not prevent its talent from taking those bookings, wrote Pollock. Wrestling veteran Bill Apter recently commented on how the WWE ID program could negatively affect the lives of some professional wrestlers. Speaking on Sportskeeda's The Wrestling Time Machine show, Apter stated that the program is good for some and could turn into a hassle for others. He noted that wrestling schools approved by the program would get a boost, while those that are not will not seem as important to talents trying to succeed in the industry. It depends on who you are. If you are an indie wrestling school like the Monster Factory and you are not approved by them, it's like going to a school and getting a degree. You know, you went to this important school, or you're going to go to a school that's not really recognized as the most important. It's not just about going to the schools, it's also going to be where they are going to be following certain talents around as they develop in the indie wrestling scene. So I think it's good in one way. CM Punk targets Jacob Fatu and Solo Sikoa. WWE superstar CM Punk had an amusing response to Jacob Fatu's signature catchphrase, "I love you, Solo." The Second City Saint made a Star Wars reference in response to the catchphrase. Punk has been quite active on Instagram since making his way back to the Stamford-based company last year. He occasionally interacts with fellow WWE superstars and other employees. The Bloodline's Jacob Fatu has nothing but respect and admiration for Solo Sikoa. He can be occasionally heard telling Solo that he loves him on WWE TV and live events. CM Punk had a hilarious response to Fatu's catchphrase on Instagram. Last year, Jacob Fatu did not show up at a wrestling event held by the charity Jake's Network of Hope. The charity then alleged that the Samoan werewolf had not paid the money back that he took from them. The story resurfaced recently, and Fatu received tons of flack from fans on X/Twitter. Jake's Network of Hope chimed in and made it clear that the 32-year-old star paid the money back a few months ago. In May, Jacob Fatu reached out with a heartfelt apology, initiating a meaningful dialogue that allowed us to work together with all parties involved to find solutions and fully resolve the matter. This event aimed to confront the challenging realities of poverty and the immense obstacles to overcoming it. While not everything unfolded perfectly, we are grateful for the awareness raised around diaper need and the substantial costs of providing essential products to families. Fans are aware that Fatu is a hothead and one of the most violent entities in all of WWE. It would be interesting to see his reaction to CM Punk making a joke at his expense on social media. A feud pitting the best in the world and the Samoan werewolf would certainly be a must-watch affair. Roman Reigns must not trust Sami Zayn. Let's discuss considerable reasons why the original tribal chief should remain wary of trusting Sami Zayn, even after their reconciliation on the latest edition of the Blue brand. One reason Roman Reigns should not fully trust Sami Zayn is the recent mysterious conversation between the latter and Solo Sikoa. Jimmy Uso caught the underdog from the underground, speaking with the self-proclaimed tribal chief on Raw backstage. This exchange was also noticed by Jey Uso, who was surprised by the actions of the 40-year-old star. The details of that conversation remain unclear, and indeed raise suspicion. Sami's actions may be part of a bigger conspiracy orchestrated by Solo. He may have reunited with the original bloodline only to betray the original tribal chief at a critical moment in the near future. During the latest episode of SmackDown, Solo Sikoa introduced Sami Zayn into the main event scene by calling the latter his dog. However, the Canadian star later turned against the self-proclaimed tribal chief. sparking suspicion. It is possible that Solo's words subtly hinted at an alliance between the two, despite Zayn's apparent betrayal. Sami may have chosen to reunite with the original bloodline to regain Roman Reigns' trust, only to serve as a double agent. By doing so, the 40-year-old star could leak critical strategies of the original bloodline to Solo's faction, giving the new bloodline a tactical advantage. Solo referring to Zayn as his dog is a subtle yet significant move that raises doubts about the latter's loyalty towards the original bloodline. This is one key reason why Reigns should remain cautious of the 40-year-old star, despite their recent reunion. Sami Zayn urged Roman Reigns to apologize to Jey Uso during the opening segment of SmackDown, aiming to facilitate their reunion. However, the original tribal chief refused, mocking the Yeet Master for wasting time with the underdog from the underground. Notably, Roman also has not apologized to Sami for his past actions. With a potential sense of vengeance brewing, Zayn could be plotting to betray the head of the table in the near future. This unresolved tension makes the Canadian star a highly untrustworthy figure within the original bloodline.